Hey everyone, so I've got a ton of updates for you. Sorry it's been so long in between, but every day things were changing, so I just wanted to be able to give you something more solid. I've got things from an ER visit to new location where I'm at right now, to actual treatments plans. So a lot has been happening, and a lot more so in the last week. So let me kind of like just give you the rundown of everything in general that led up to this point. As a lot of you guys know, I have been trying to fight like crazy for months to even get care, which is insane. I get it. I have a very rare and aggressive cancer, so not everybody can treat it. Even though people like to think that they can, they don't know. Most of the oncologists weren't even looking up what I had before I was meeting with them, and I'm like, come on, dude, like do your research at least, especially when you don't know about it. So I was working with four different hospitals trying to get in. The first one, lovely person, just really ignorant on the topic. He went as far as to tell me with chemotherapy, I wouldn't need any kind of caretaker, that I could drive to all my appointments by myself, hours in traffic in LA, and I was going to be just totally fine. That's not a realistic expectation. Um, the second medical oncologist was decent, but with insurance, he was covered, but the radiation oncologist was not. So unfortunately, I couldn't work with them, but maybe fortunately because of where I ended up. So also the third one, they kept calling me saying, "Oh, you're covered. I don't know why you're trying to pay cash because we're trying to scrape together money to like save up and go see this doctor." But yeah, it was back and forth, and it turns out that the insurance, when I looked the doctor up, it looked, and this is on my insurance's website, it looked like they were covered, but apparently the medical group within my insurance didn't cover them. So it's weird that it can be on a sheet of covered doctors. And I'm going to make a whole different video eventually about insurance and how to really handle this, because there's a lot of tips and tricks that I learned, and a lot of things to look out for that I would love to be able to save someone else from the complete nightmare that I went through and that I was warned about, but nobody, was able to really give me the tips and tricks I needed. So look out for that video. Eventually, I will make that. But then the fourth one was MD Anderson. I've been working forever to try to get a single case agreement, because the only doctor who's ever seen this is attached to MD Anderson, and he's on the research articles that I see. His name is Dr. Hannah. So that has been going on forever. And then insurance has been, tough to deal with as well. But more recently, I would say 2.5 weeks ago, I finally got to the point where I was getting numbness in my face. I woke up at 2 a.m. or so. My face right here, not on the outsides or anything, but just right here. This is where most of the cancer is, by the way, the sinonasal area. This went numb, and my upper lip went numb just on the left side, and even my upper left teeth. It felt as if I was numbed at the dentist, when they do that through the roof of the mouth, and this just all goes numb. It's the maxillary V2 through here that just I think something was pinching. So anyway, I waited 20 minutes. I woke my roommate up, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna see if this dies down. Wake me up in an hour, if you will, just in case. You never know what's gonna happen in those kinds of situations. It's way too close to the brain. So I waited 20 minutes. It did go down a bit, so I didn't rush off to the ER. Again, because I didn't know that they would be able to do anything for it anyway. And then my roommate did wake me up totally fine. Throughout the week, I did have some residual numbness. It wasn't quite as bad, but I could still notice it if I touched it or shaved. I could feel this was less sensitive in here. But week went on, no worries, and then the next weekend, it happened again, and again I watched it for the 20 minutes. It subsided, but I'm like, cool. Let's again get into wherever we can to get this taken care of. And in the same nights, again it happened. And it was only because it happened twice in the same night. I'm like, you know what? It's not going to hurt me to go and get a scan done. So I did that. And this was again in the middle of the night. I was there for probably 6 hours. I got a CT scan done without contrast. Um, and with that, they can't see the nerves, so they can't really tell you if it's pinching a nerve. But their assumption and my assumption was that, the tumor or polyps, either one, might have been growing and pressing up against the nerves that are right there that affect that area. So that was the assumption. But also on that scan, I was able to see some progression. It had mention of bone erosion, which was not on my first CT, PET scan, or MRI. Um, and it also had mention of it being involved in one of the plates in there, and also the cephenoid sphenoid, I think it's cephenoid sinus area, which again it was not involved with before. Um, all three of those things individually put it into a stage 4, but I'll get more into that later. Don't let that number scare you. I know it always sounds scary, but again, I'll get to that later. So I'm, at the ER waiting for some paperwork to be done. I get a call from MD Anderson, from their financial area, and it was just a courtesy call letting me know that my insurance company was not going to sign the um, single case agreement. Which at this point I'm like, okay, cool. I'll see what I can do tomorrow or something when I have more energy or I can actually sleep. Because again, I'm not giving up. So I will make whatever happen. But I'm like, cool, thank you for letting me know. No worries. And then I go home. Um, and I get home and I notice there's a voicemail from my insurance company. And I call her back, and she's very excited. She's like, I'm so happy to tell you you've been approved to go to MD Anderson on the single case agreement. At this point, I I'm exhausted. I have not slept, and I've gone through this like all this other stuff. I was just awake all night. My body was just ready to drop. My mind has already been fried because 2 months of trying to get help. Um, and then I also know I've been promised things multiple times and it'd be taken back. So I told her, I'm like, forgive me if I don't celebrate with you, but I I just got a call this morning that you are not signing the agreement. So I'm gonna have to call MD Anderson myself and figure this out. Which I did. And I got a hold of them. It took a minute because the person was on lunch break or something. Perfect timing, but yeah. So they did call me back, and turns out, yeah, they signed the agreement. Um, so it it was 2.5 months of just fighting so hard, and I should tell you when I asked the person too, because I was told my insurance company has never ever signed a single case agreement with MD Anderson. It's just out of the range for them. And she confirmed that, yeah, she had never seen this herself. So the simple fact that I was able to get that, I have to give credit where credit's due. Again, I'm religious. I don't care if you are or not. I love God, cool, but you got to think about it. I was told no the same day. There was nothing else extra I could have done or that I did, and then I get home and it's a yes. So something happened, something flipped. I didn't do anything different. So I don't know what happened or didn't happen, or well, what happened. So I'm going to give that credit where credit is due. Thank you, God, for that, because it was the impossible. It was the impossible. It happened. So great. Anyway, so I'm in Texas. That is where MD Anderson is, and that is where I am. They were great. They were so wonderful at just setting up an appointment. It was crazy getting here in such a quick whiplash. But they set me up with 7 appointments in the same week because they want you to talk to a medical oncologist, a radiation oncologist, an oral oncologist for the mouth sores and such that you could potentially get, or dental issues, and then other doctors as well. Like I said, it's the full run of the mill treatment when you get here, and it's amazing that they organized everybody in this little army where they can get you in all in the same week. They say 3 to 5 business days, but boy, have they done that. When I left, it was, I'm not gonna lie, it was emotional, because one, I felt as if I was fresh off the battlefield. It is hard enough that I am dealing with an incredibly rare and aggressive cancer. Nobody should ever have to be this much of an advocate for themselves. Nobody should have to go through hours and hours of phone calls every single day just to get appropriate help or care. But I did, and it was hard. Like I've said before, I feel like I was built for this because I am a freaking fighter, and I am not letting go. And I told them, when they made the mistake of thinking, oh well, we heard that you weren't going to proceed. No, I'm proceeding. I'll be trying to go to MD Anderson until the day I die. So whatever we need to do to get there, let's make that happen. So yeah, it was tough. So it was the buildup of me dealing with hours of phone calls every day, the ER visit itself, the scan results that I got back, the not sleep that night, the no that I got from MD Anderson, and then the yes that I got from MD Anderson, and the all of these things happening in a 24-hour period, and then finally getting to leave. And I know, being realistic, that I may not come back. I let's be honest, knock on wood. I am hoping, my hope was that I would come back. Obviously that's all of our hopes. But with, that the spreading that had happened in the scan, I wasn't quite sure, because I thought maybe I'll have to stay out here to do treatment. Yeah, you just never know. So me leaving my apartment, even I think it hit when I was driving my car with my roommate and having to park that for the last time. And it was just like, man, my car is very close to 250,000 miles, like maybe 5,000 miles away. And I'm like, I really wanted to celebrate and see that. It's just the little things in life. And then leaving, my apartment, I took the opportunity to jump on the bed for the last time and really absorb what that felt like, because later on, if I wanted to, think about it, I could, and put some things away for my roommate to bring with if later on I found I couldn't return. Anyway, this is, let me show you real quick. This is a video I took for when I was at the airport, and again, zero sleep, all emotional. So here's that. So I am on my way to Houston, Texas, at the airport right now. It is early. I did not sleep last night, but it's a very, very mixed feeling day. I am really grateful to be able to get to the only doctor who's ever seen this type of cancer that I know of, but at the same time, it is so weird and surreal to possibly leave my house for maybe the last time ever. There's a chance I'll be back to let my port heal, if that takes 2 weeks. I'm not quite sure if they're going to want to start treatment like as soon as possible and do other things in between. So yeah, and maybe I live, maybe not. It's too hard to put feelings on a for sure thing one way or the other. I don't want to live in ignorance or over positivity, but I also don't want to live in the negativity, because you need a positive attitude to get through this. So with that, one thing that I did today, when I checked through the airport security, I would usually put my house keys in my bag, because there's no point of keeping those with me on vacation. I'm not using them at the moment. But when I went through security, because I had to come out because they were metal, I went to put them in my bag after I got through security, and I almost put them in my pocket, and then, sorry, I decided to put them in my pocket. And I decided that while I'm out here, I will go ahead and keep putting them in my pocket. Because at least then, I have a goal of coming home. I'm going to put my keys in my pocket, thinking that, yeah, I'm going to use these again. I'm not packing them away. And then that way I can, feel them throughout the day and say, yeah, there is a possibility of coming home. I still have keys to my home. That is still my home. And I may be able to come back. So I will keep that hope. And there's a million people staring at me as I walk by in the airport. So I'm going to stop bawling in the middle of the airport. Catch you all soon. So yeah, that was emotional. Obviously, due to circumstances, it's going to be, and understandably so. So let me tell you where I'm at now. I've so far had uh, two doctor visits. One with the medical oncologist that they bumped up for me, which was wonderful, and two with the surgical oncologist, who's Dr. Hannah, one from the different studies that I found. And that was wonderful. And wonderful not because of any kind of certain prognosis or anything like that, but the fact that for the first time um, in this whole cancer thing, at least, and in my research and all this, I didn't feel alone. And I say that because I have a great support system. I have amazing family, amazing friends, so many people who love me and want to help. But when you're doing research and when you're making these phone calls to the insurance companies and the hospitals and stuff, nobody else can do that for me. And even if I asked them to, it would still be my brain like trying to check in and say, okay, well, what did they say? And then did you tell them this? And so it's too much to give to other people, but at the same time, it's too much for one person. Let's be honest. Um, but I came into came into the appointment very prepared. So this is just my research here. This is articles, all of it, case studies, everything I can find on this. And this is even some adjacent things because there's not that much. So I wanted to think outside the box too. Um, so I went in there, and it was so nice to actually have an intellectual or intelligent conversation with someone who understood what I understood. Um, the other oncologists I had seen before could maybe answer four of my 20 some questions. This guy could answer, I think, all but one, which he said that's going to be somebody else's specialty. Ask them. Great. But everything that I had researched, everything that I had the inkling about was correct. and and it was so refreshing to know that I was informed on what's going on with my body. I was not just sitting there waiting for somebody else to tell me what's happening, what the possibilities were. I could just actually give and take with a person. And honestly, let's be honest, I nerded out. I'm not a science guy, but I'm a research guy. I love looking up things like whether it's law or any of it, just for whatever is needed in my life. Um, and yeah, it was a good time. So some of the things you'll need to know or want to know. I asked about the CT scan. Um, Technically, yes. From those three things that were mentioned earlier, either one of those alone puts it into a stage four. Now, as I say, there's stage four and then there's stage four. Um, with these types of tumors and such, they also don't necessarily go by the numeric staging because there's not enough base size to really give you statistical survival rates on the staging numbers. So it's more of like where it's spread or what have you. It does not mean that it's terminal. Let me be clear about that. I think we always hear stage four cancer, there's no turning back, blah, blah, blah. There's also a difference between being treatable and being curable. So being treatable means that, they'll never get rid of it, but, they can keep treating it, being curable means they might be able to get rid of it, and it looked like you never had cancer, in a way. Um, so Dr. Hannah had told me that um, there is a possibility, dependent on scans, because I only have old scans except for that last week's scan. We still have to do an MRI and a PET scan. Those are tomorrow and the next day. But from what he'd seen so far, there is a possibility that is curable. Now, percentages are a whole different thing. I'm still pretty sure, yeah, it's the odds are against me, but it's not focusing on the percentages, because if it does have a chance, cool, we take that chance, we go for it. Um, and again, it's hard to put exact percentages on what you may not know. Also, interesting fact, they the biopsies, they always take everybody's biopsies to their own center in MD Anderson. They test it themselves. They retest it. So the pathology on that, they were telling me that sinonasals, about 30% of what they get in was misdiagnosed. So they're actually testing mine now, or retesting my biopsy, to see if the pathology report that was originally done is correct for a neuroendocrine tumor, or if it might be something else. And that's crazy. 30% is almost one third. So that is really what we're waiting on right now, to see where that can take us, to make a course of action. And then also the PET and CT scan. I'm sorry, the MRI and the PET scan that I'll do tomorrow and the next day, to see if it's metastasized. If it did, then that's a whole different ballgame. That's a different type of stage 4. But we don't have any evidence of that yet. So, or evidence of that at all, I should say. So we'll see what happens with that. Uh, Now, what else? I've got a couple other meetings in the next couple of days as well with different oncologists. I've got the radiation oncologist still to go to tomorrow, and then the oral oncologist, the dental oncologist, same thing. They pretty much help out with the idea of sores in the mouth and in the throat, and also just make sure your teeth are ready for what you're about to go through, amongst other things I'm sure I don't know about. So I'll meet her on Friday as well. So a lot of different appointments in single days, which is terrific. If we make the assumption that it is sinonasal PDNEC, and that it is only locally advanced, if those are what actually happens, then the chemo radiation plan would be that I would start on Tuesday. So in less than a week, I would be able to start treatment. How they will do this is 3 weeks makes up one cycle. So they would start, interestingly enough, they wouldn't start with chemo and radiation, which I thought they would. But they'll start with chemo by itself, because they want to see if the chemo is reacting correctly. Because if it's not, it's hard to tell which one, if the radiation is taking care of it, they don't know if the chemo is working. So they start with the chemotherapy, which has, with neuroendocrine tumors, pretty much a good success rate with it working to shrink things down. So they'll do 2 cycles, so 2 3-week cycles of chemotherapy by itself, and then 2 3-week cycles of chemotherapy with radiation together, and then possibly 2 more cycles of chemo by itself again. And I'm not gonna call out the hospital. The other one I went to, the one that seemed to make some sense. I was very back and forth with him, a little stern, because his plan was to do 2 chemo radiations together and then wait 12 weeks to do a scan and see if it worked. And in my mind, and again, I pushed back hard. In my mind, I'm like, that's 3 months. We're waiting 3 months to see if it can grow back in 3 months. Then how do you really know anything? Um, so, but apparently that's something really common that people do. I guess inflammation can show up as something on there as well, or scar tissue. Um, But what they're doing here, and I'm so thankful for this, um, is in that first, 6 weeks of the, again, 2, 3 week treatments, on week 5, they will do a scan and they'll see if it's working. Because then we can adjust or continue with the game plan. Which to me, I'm sorry, that just makes common sense. It's just, let's just, look, and while we're actively doing things and there's no pause in between to see if things are smaller. Even if there's some scar tissue, I mean, see if things are smaller overall, right? So yeah, that's what the game plan is. If this is how it turns out with the diagnosis being correct. Interesting fact. Um, Here at MD Anderson, at least what I'm getting in this particular situation, again, if it holds, I won't need a port or a PICC line, which is crazy sounding to me because I know cisplatin and etoposide cisplatin can be very strong. Like they have to drip it into your system for 8 hours on end because it's just toxic and can burn and all this kind of stuff. But they're saying that their nurses here are just so good that they will ensure it gets into a vein, that we're not going to have any whoopsie daisies or whatever you want to call it. um, and so, yeah, that way I can start sooner. And it amazed me that I wouldn't need a PICC line or a port. Um, and obviously, they said, if people are uncomfortable getting stuck over and over again, but thinking about it, that's only 3 times in 3 weeks. Like, go, yeah, stick me. That's fine. I hate needles. I hate them. I scream at the top of my lungs. Let's be honest, but that's okay. Like, I'll take that instead of the possibilities of having to watch for blood clots or rashes or waiting for healing time before starting treatment. I'm like, get it in my veins. Let's go. let's get this party growing. It's been months. It's been months too long. Like I said, nobody should ever have to fight this hard, ever. I don't care if it's rare. It should not be this difficult. But I am incredibly blessed. So I will take the win. I'll give credit where credit is due. Thank you again, God. And yeah, I'm counting my blessings while I got them. Yeah, it's a good day. I will lose this hair eventually, but I'm enjoying it for now. And I've got energy, and I can call friends, and I can drive to the grocery store if I want to, or walk rather, because that's where my hotel is. And yeah, I've got nothing to complain about, and I'm finally able to settle. It's amazing when you walk into a cancer center, when you are just fighting so hard alone in your bedroom or apartment, trying to just get help somewhere, and people understand what you're actually going through. Um, and it sounds so cliche, but really, it matters. Friends and family are going to be there so I don't feel alone as a human being, but they can't all relate to being alone in this experience. And sadly, there's a difference because I know everybody wants to be there, but both are important. So I'm very, very blessed that I have both. Uh, and I will leave you with that. And I hope I will have some updates soon and pray that it is good ones. I will accept any kind of positive thoughts, prayers, whatever you all got, because I'm going to need it, very possibly. But today's a good day. So, all right, I'll catch y'all later. Bye.